Welcome to Emotional Mechanics of Attraction, a series where we explore the hidden forces that make relationships between characters so compelling. Have you ever noticed that the moment two characters begin sharing a secret, their relationship suddenly becomes far more interesting? Not necessarily more romantic, not necessarily more dramatic, just more charged, more watchable, more emotionally alive. It happens in romance novels, in mysteries, in films, and in television. But here's the strange part. When you start thinking about it, it's usually not the secret itself doing the work. It's something the secret does to the people involved. Once you notice that, you really do start seeing it everywhere. So let's break it down. Instead of thinking of this as a single change, it helps to think of it as a shift in attention. Because something happens quite quickly. Attention often becomes more narrowly focused on each other. A secret creates a boundary. Those who know, and those who don't. And suddenly, the relationship stops existing inside a wider social environment, and starts existing inside its own small enclosed space. Or maybe space isn't even the right word. It's more like a shared focus. That alone begins to change how everything feels. But there's something else happening at the same time. Risk changes behavior. When something has to be kept private, people become more aware of themselves without really meaning to. Their tone, their timing, their expressions, even their pauses. And what's interesting is how quickly that affects even ordinary interaction. A glance lasts a little too long. A sentence comes out slightly softer. A response is delayed by just a fraction of a second. None of this is dramatic on its own. But together, it changes the emotional temperature of the scene completely. And then there's something deeper underneath that. And this part is often overlooked. Because secrets are rarely passive. They require cooperation, maintenance, a kind of unspoken coordination between two people. And once that happens, something changes again. Their actions stop being purely individual. They become linked. What one person does now affects the other. And that creates a different kind of awareness. You start paying attention to their judgment, their decisions, and their reliability under pressure. Slowly, over time, the relationship becomes less about social interaction, and more about what they're doing together and how they respond to each other. Almost like shared survival in a narrative sense. And that's often where emotional connection begins to form in fiction. Not through declaration, but through necessity. And this is why writers use secrecy as a plot mechanism. It allows relationships to develop through action instead of explanation. You don't have to tell the reader two characters are becoming closer. You let the reader see it happening through what they choose to hide and what they choose to share. It lets two narrative threads run at once: the external plot and the internal connection. And as the stakes rise in one, the other tends to rise with it. To illustrate this point, you can see this in my Regency mystery romance, The Grünewald Affair. The entire mystery hinges on private knowledge that they can't share with anyone else, which makes it a perfect case study for everything we just talked about. The two main characters, Lady Emma and Lord Henry, are drawn into an investigation where information cannot be shared openly for several reasons. As a single lady and a single gentleman in the Regency era, even something as simple as meeting or writing carried social constraints. So if they wanted to piece together information, they couldn't simply meet whenever they chose. Every encounter had to be arranged carefully, and always carried the risk of being seen. So in the beginning, their cooperation is cautious, deliberate, and tightly controlled. And because they are dealing with dangerous information, without initially knowing who they can trust, every exchange carries additional weight, slowly changing the dynamic between them. But as the mystery deepens, something else begins to form underneath all of that. A kind of quiet reliance. What's interesting here is, as they get to know each other, they begin to understand things about each other that aren't being said directly. And over time, that shared secrecy doesn't only move the investigation forward. It changes the shape of their relationship itself. But here's the key thing. Secrets don't increase attraction because they hide information. They increase attraction because they change attention. They change awareness. They change how two people interact and relate to one another. It's less about secrecy itself, and more about what it does to the mind when connection is already forming. And secrecy is only one example of something much larger. Writers use a whole range of these mechanisms. Some create attraction through admiration, through conflict, and some through shared danger or vulnerability. Each one creates a different emotional structure between characters. And each one changes how we experience their relationship. In the next episode, we'll explore a completely different mechanism. One that can create powerful attraction even when two characters are in direct conflict and don't particularly like each other at all. And once you see it, you'll start noticing it everywhere. If you'd like to see this mechanism in action, you can find the link to the Grünewald Affair in the description below, along with the rest of the articles in this series. Until next time, keep noticing the hidden structures behind the stories you love.